Yeah, recording in progress. So Dr. Julia said that it's a typical internship in Khalifa, and that's it. So it's all good with the credits. Thank you. And regarding the exact topics, there will be a big section about vision. There will be a big section on control, and also a big section about using the robots physically. So after you get the hardware, you will have to understand how to use it, how to connect to the robots, and how to fix them if they break. And all of that will be included in this internship. After the internship, in the end of the internship, a competition will be held in Netherlands. And as far as I get it, the most active participants of this internship will be able to enter the competition, go there, compete, and victoriously get back home. So that's the plan. Ahmad, would you like to add something?
Yeah, so the competition right now, I think it's open for everyone to join these meetings, to join the lectures. But in the end, it's those who are most participating, those who are contributing the most. They're the ones who should expect to be part of the future team. So for now, it's open for everyone to join and participate. You don't need any form of previous knowledge. You don't need to know a lot of things. Just basic stuff, and also you should have just willingness to learn or be there. That's it.
Thank you. And one more important thing, our team was found in 2018 by a single person who graduated from our university long ago in 1988. His name is Azir Babayev. He's a businessman, and he started all of this thing here. And he will be in KU next week. He will hold a lecture. He will tell you about the RoboCup rules, what is supposed to happen, how basically to win, and all that stuff. Well, I mean, not the exact recipe to win, but the good practices. And my advice is to go there in person and listen to him, because this guy, he knows what he's talking about. I recommend you to be around and to listen carefully. He will fly to KU to deliver this, so it would be cool to go there. And Ahmad, could I ask you to collect the time slots from the students so that we can tell Azir when it would be convenient to have the lecture? I think he's
Yeah,
pretty much fine with all the time slots, but just we have to tell him in advance. So as a way of doing that, we can we can do this lecture at the same time. We can do
okay.
that.
Well,
But
I
there
can
should be a
prepare like,
spot.
yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah,
please.
so there should be a spot to do that, to accommodate all the people. But for now, we have approximately a week to prepare that. So I think it will be fine. We just have to gather all the students, and I think it would be a nice introduction into the rules of this robotic football, because there are certain tricky things like who is the handler, what to do if the robot breaks during the game, do we have a right to interrupt them or not, all that stuff. Where the field should be placed. It should be placed near the window, by the way, in order for the external light to obstruct the vision. That's the tricky part about the rules. They're getting harder and harder every year. Before neural networks were introduced, all the balls were just orange. And now we play with regular colored balls, just like the human balls, but smaller. So next week there will be a general introduction into the rules and good practices and all that stuff from our founder. Are there any questions, suggestions? Maybe something is not clear. That's the best time to to ask me if something is not clear. If I could answer, that would be great. I'm not that much used to online education. Education in person is so much better because people are less shy to ask questions. So I would
I
ask you
would
to,
like to,
yeah. Mhm.
yeah, sorry. Because you mentioned earlier to me that many of the members, they might be maybe afraid to join because they are missing some sort of knowledge, or they don't know something, or they're not very fluent in a certain skill. We can organize maybe not lectures that are online, but in person, where I can show them basically what we have done over the past year, anything that they are missing, anything that they think they want to know about. We can organize a day, same as the lectures right now, but it will be in person, physical work, if that's fine with everyone.
I'm totally pro that. That would be awesome. So it just requires from all the other students to tell you when and where and how and all that stuff. But yeah, I think it would be cool to start with the basics of computer vision because conceptually it's more straightforward than the control. And if someone is afraid that he or she doesn't have enough knowledge to start robotics, that's probably not true because you're already students, so you know Python or MATLAB or C or whatever. That's more than enough. There are two separate tracks. The first track is the practice with the robots, and you can find out the proper commands to control it and to tune and all that stuff because the software is pretty much ready. And the second track is the fundamental education and studying for extended periods of time, and we will cover that as well. There was, can you hear me? There was just some,
We can hear you.
yeah, oh, thanks. I don't know what was the sound effect. Sorry. So we will carry on doing these lectures, these online sessions. As you can tell, there are not so many people there, so we can have a conversation if some concept is not clear. So we'll be doing that just for extended periods of time. And we will cover computer vision, the math behind it, how to do it, the necessary libraries, the camera models, and so on. Also, we'll talk about control algorithms, how to formalize the systems, how to find out the proper algorithm to control it. So if you feel like you're not proficient in C++, that's not a problem. Many of our students at this moment who are in the beginning of master studies or end of bachelor studies, they knew much less than they do now when they enter the team, but now they're very comfortable. So it's fine. You just have
Right.
to show up in the lab and do stuff. That's it.
If you so once we start the intern, like if we start the internship, we'll be going over all these topics like vision, hardware, control, right? Like, would we go through all of them, or like would we be put into one of these, like, or like are we selecting one right from the get-go and then like focusing only on that, or are we getting an overview of all three, vision, hardware, control, or and like then we pick, like when we're working on the team, we can't really work on everything, right? So we have to fall into one of.
That's a good question. So there is a way of doing that such that people are not not really replaceable, but not irreplaceable either. So everyone should know how does the system work, the whole system, the whole pipeline. But you, of course, you can specialize in certain area. I've been specializing in vision for very long. I had two of my theses in vision, but now I'm diving in control. So it's like a personal anecdote, but it's an okay way to do this stuff. You can dive in certain areas as you become more interested in them. And our team, especially when it began, it was very, very flat. So everyone was responsible for the areas that they preferred. And it's a good practice because first of all, it's really better for the team. People can switch tasks. And second, while entering the workforce, at some point it could happen. It's really nice to have a wide library of things that you can do. So you can train neural networks, you can throw simple classical pipelines, and you also know programming, system programming like Linux administration, Git, Docker instruments like this, ROS. And also you could be proficient with the classical control methods. And during the summer internship, during these 2 months, of course, it's not possible to know everything. That takes longer, but there will be a pretty solid overview of all the important parts.
So essentially over the summer, we are basically learning enough to enough practical knowledge to actually work on the robot and write code for the vision. And we're learning the practical skills, not necessarily like all the theoretical background necessary to understand it fully, but just like we're learning the practical aspects of it. And we're going
Yes,
to
because the competition is very it's not far away. It's beyond the corner. You'll be learning a lot of practical stuff, and during some portions of this internship, you will learn the basics of the fundamentals of all the disciplines that I have mentioned. But yeah, the focus is supposed to be on the practice because, well, the competition will require some knowledge on how to start the robots, how to prepare, how to tune them, how to work on them. Are there any other questions? Let me check the chat.
I want to just add one more comment. So regarding what Nathan said, since it's a very big or broad topic, you have the computer vision side, the control. I think that in the beginning you should get a very clear background in everything, but then later on, as the competition gets closer, each of us will be maybe focusing on one certain aspect. Like in Elia's team, they don't work all of them on everything. That's the job of one or not, two people. That's it. The rest of the team, they all focus on one aspect of the robot. Maybe computer vision, maybe just the shooting motion or the actions of the robot. And then he also mentioned that they have members who combine everything together. So it's not a necessity, a very necessary like thing that you know about every aspect of the robot uh, up to an expert level, but it should be common knowledge among all the members, like how to fix a certain issue and that stuff. So don't worry about that regards. And that's it.
There's a question in the chat. Where can we find the recording for this meeting? All the recordings are published at StarKit Robots channel on YouTube. We record everything in the same playlist as this video will appear in. There is a whole course on computer vision professionally recorded, so you can watch it if you would like to. And the plan for the autumn semester is to go all over these topics, but with live streams. So there will be a way to talk to me and to ask certain stuff. But if you want to do it faster, or you would like to do it later than the fall semester, you can get to these video lectures. They've been recorded for Khalifa in English with lots of preparations. And those are really good quality, concise videos with presentations and stuff, coding examples, everything you need about the classical computer vision. This the first part, and the second is about neural networks. So how to train them, how do they work, and it's on the channel, StarKit Robots. I'll write it in the chat on YouTube. There is a channel with like 700 subscribers or something. It's pretty small, and it's mostly covered in lectures. And there is a separate playlist for the lectures for Khalifa. It's already long enough. And the videos with a nice preview picture, those are the recordings from the studio. I will be attending. That would be amazing. Yeah, I think so. That would be cool. See you in Khalifa. We can all of us can go to Starbucks and have a cup of coffee, all that thing. We don't have Starbucks in Russia, so I'll use that opportunity. So during the summer, we will be getting lessons on a daily or weekly basis. Daily. That will be a lot of learning. Usually it's from 9 to 3, except for Friday. Friday is a short day, so just from 9 to 12, I believe. It was this way last year, at least during the first part, but during the second part, probably it was the same. Any other organizational questions or just any questions? What about the people who are taking classes during the summer but still wanting to join the competition? Taking classes, which exactly? Of our internship or other classes? Summer courses in Khalifa University. So courses are the other than this internship, right?
No, I think there is a confusion.
Other.
For the internship, it is from 9 to 5. It was, but maybe she's talking about the other, like the courses that we have online and these things that we are having right now. This will be done because even the internship itself, it's not if it wasn't necessary if you're doing internship, join at any time. But it's necessary if you're doing the internship to attend from 9 to 5. If you're doing it as a university internship, you have to attend. But if you have courses, you can join in your free time. You can join when you don't have classes. It's fine. If you remember, Ilya, we had the same situation last year. We had people who were joining the internship, but not as an official internship with the university.
Yeah, so there are certain exceptional cases like Emiratis, non-Emiratis, right? I'm not really aware of all the possible cases, but of course it's better to attend in person full time, and you will get credits and all that sort of stuff. So even if you will not go into robotics, you're gonna go to a company and do machine learning after that. So it will be fine, even if you would not end up working with the robots for the rest of your life. When will they get back to us regarding the internship? Who exactly? Matt, I unfortunately did not get the question. So could you please rephrase it somehow?
Yeah, so
Uh,
he means the internship record, the thing, the email we received. This is different from what you guys received. I think it's the university who decides.
Like, I have a question. Sorry. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so this is like an official internship with the university, right? So there, like in the course catalog, it mentions prerequisite like Gens 300. So if you're like freshman students, we wouldn't have that. Like we haven't taken Gens 300 yet. Would we still get the internship credit if we take it like over the summer? Or can we get a prerequisite waiver or something of that nature?
I think it's a registration issue mostly. If the registration are fine with it, or your department is fine with it, you can do it. But you have to check with them, explain to them because this internship is very different from, let's say, a company internship. In a company, you have to, the reports you file are very different. The way you attend is very different. Here, it's more of a competition, and it's also kind of like training. So you will be working with them on a daily basis. You're spending the same amount of time you would do on a regular internship, but you will be doing more physical work on the robot, more theoretical work on the concepts behind the robot. So it's better to check with the department or your advisor if that's possible. because sometimes they might delay it for you, or they can make it any earlier, even if if you haven't taken that course. There's a submission called like uh, I think it's a prerequisite waiver or something to do that stuff.
And also regarding the prerequisites, basic Python is really enough. So even basic MATLAB, because Python is similar and simple. So if you're familiar with programming, you're good to go. And there is another question. Yes, I'm not officially making an internship. I'm taking summer classes in addition to the competition. Okay, so is it a question or a statement? So you're asking about if you can join the team and go to the competition, or the question is different? Let's make it clear. Ahmad, can you please help me with this question?
Yeah. So if you're doing the internship, you have to attend on a daily basis. This is something you have to do to actually get the credits. If you're not doing it as a student, and like an internship, because we had people who already graduated last year, you can attend anytime, but keep in mind that if you do not attend or participate regularly, you will not be considered as part of the team who will be joining.
There's a different question. So Vadima
Yeah.
is not doing an internship, but she asks if she can join the competition.
Yeah, that's basically depending on how much they contribute as members. So maybe you're very busy, you have a schedule that is very busy in the morning, but you contribute more in after hours, or maybe you join all of the lectures that we do online and you keep up with the work, but you do not attend the morning section of it. It's fine, but it all depends on how much you put in terms of effort, because you're not doing it as an internship, so we will be more understanding with that regards. If you cannot maybe make it in the morning, or if you have something on weekends, but it depends basically on how much you're there, how much do we see you, because we cannot, for example, take someone who is attending maybe like 2 hours a week over someone who is attending 10, because it depends on who can contribute more in the competition once they travel for it. So it's depending really on we're giving you the freedom this time, but at the end, when it comes to the traveling and who will be participating, it will be many factors, not just the attendance, basically how much contribution.
Okay. And do you know if there are any people who are not at this session right now, so who are not in Zoom, but they will be in the team and they want to go to the competition? I'm just trying to get the whole picture of who exactly is supposed to go to the competition, who will join the internship, how many people are there? That's my question.
I'm not sure exactly about that number, but because it's increasing by the day, many people are joining very early today, and they join the team. We have people who are still planning on joining. So I think it depends really, for the competition, it depends really on how many people are there. Maybe the number that we have who are actually participating are very small. So this way we don't have to make hard choices on who is going and who's not going. But if we reach a point where we have maybe like 20 or 30 members and only 5 or 6 will be going, then it will become a hard situation. And also regarding the internship, I think it's up to the advisors, the supervisors of the competitions from our side in Khalifa University. They will be selecting the students, like Dr. Hamad and Dr. George, I think, as well. These people from our university. So it's a lot of factors, and the numbers of the students is always changing. And don't lose hope, basically. Just put in the work. Even if you don't end up going, the competition will, it's very, there's a lot of competitions happening everywhere, and it's every 2 months, 3 months. It's back to back. And it's the same robot. So once you learn how to use it, you apply it to the basically to the different competition every 2 3 months. And I hope this answers the question.
Thank you. So are there any other questions regarding the competitions or the organization or whatever else? If not, I have a next question myself. So please tell me, all of you, please tell me, you can do it in the chat. What year of studies are you at and are you familiar with differential equations? And calculus integrals, all that stuff. Third year, yes. Okay. Junior first, yes. Okay. Fourth year. Okay. Senior, yes. Okay. So I think we can finish freshman year and freshman year. Okay. I know calculus linear. Awesome. Awesome. So great. I think we can work with that. And the concept that I propose to talk about today is the linear quadratic regulator. We were supposed to talk about it last time, but during that session, we've been laying the groundwork, and we were talking about describing the dynamical systems and talking about PID control. So I think we can do a short break, get back and in 5 minutes, 19:20 your time, 18:20 my time, and I'll use this time wisely to move the laptop around for you to see the whiteboard. And I think I will ask you again to turn on the cameras because it would be much better. There will be some hard math there. Well, pretty hard. I mean, it will be fine, but it's kind of, it could seem hard at first. So it's better for me to see you and to get the feedback. Okay, so let's get back at 1921 with the cameras on. Let me place the recording equipment. You can see me and you can hear me, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Some people left. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to erase what was on the whiteboard from the last time, and we're going to cover this whole topic of linear quadratic regulator from scratch. And please don't hesitate to ask me questions because this topic is kind of demanding in terms of the techniques that we're going to use. Guys, could you promise me that you will ask questions, please?
Could you say that again?
Could you
No,
promise that you will ask questions?
yes.
Otherwise it will, yeah, awesome. Okay. Otherwise it will be much less productive. But with the questions will be all good. So linear quadratic regulator is the following thing. We're going to consider a dynamical system with a state X from the state space that will span across Rn, n-dimensional vectors rational. The control vector will live in the space Rm. These dimensions are not necessarily supposed to match. The linear systems that I'm going to consider could be described in the form of x dot is equal to a times x plus b times u. A and b are two real valued numbers. A is from the space of matrices R n times n. B is from the space of real matrices of n rows and m columns. We can describe a lot of systems this way. For instance, a block on a plane, an approximation of the humanoid robot could work this way as well. So this is a pretty general framework, and usually while analyzing complex dynamical systems, people try to simplify it up to this form. And what we're interested in is to find a full state feedback controller in the form of U equal to.
Could you explain the equation again? So x is equal to
yeah,
x is state variable, yeah.
Yes,
and
it's
a control
state
vector. Okay.
State vector. Yes. This is the control vector.
So you would have so we got some examples for the state vector, like the position and velocity or position velocity, the angular displacement and angular velocity, for example. That's like the state vector. So what is an example of a control vector?
Of a control vector, let's consider again this example of a one-dimensional system. So it has 1 degree of freedom. It's a block with a mass m, and here we have the axis of position. And if we can exert a force on this block, the control vector is a vector of dimensionality 1, and it consists of force only. In such a case, the state vector will consist of 2 parts, p and p dot. This is the linear displacement, this is the velocity.
Okay.
As we have discussed last time, in explicit form, this equation, the system of equations will look like this. X dot is equal to p dot, p double dot. By dots, we mean time differential. And it is equal to matrix 0, 1, 0, 0 times the state vector p dot plus the control matrix B that consists of 0 over here and 1 over m in the second entry times the control vector. So this is, I'm going to write it here. X dot is equal to A times X plus B times the control vector. This is the explicit form for this system. Okay. So we are searching for a full state feedback controller. What does it mean? Let me provide an example. So let me be the system, and let's say that the problem of stabilization is for me to get exactly here in the middle of the screen. So now I'm to the right, and my linear displacement is wrong. So I have to react to that somehow in order for me to get in the proper position. And to the other side, it's the same. So for all x's in the state space, we have to provide such a feedback that will eventually drive the system in arbitrary small vicinity of 0. Nakia, Nanda, Mohammed, Salem, Fatima, are you okay with this? Or it's not clear? Please tell me if it's confusing. So let's get good with the basic concepts. Please provide some feedback. Uh-huh. I'll open the chat. Clear. Okay. Awesome.
Okay, so
Let's.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Hi.
Okay, so it's kind of clear, but not completely. Like I don't understand. Like I understand it like theoretically, but not abstractly. Like I don't understand exactly what these things mean. I think what it means is like the velocity can be found out if we have A, X, B, and U, right? Is that what the equation means? It's X dot, which is velocity of. Is it
So
not?
P is the coordinate, P dot is the velocity, and P double dot is the acceleration.
Acceleration. Okay. Okay, yeah. I'm starting to get it, but it's not completely clear because I'm like new to this. Hopefully by
No
like
problem.
the end of this, I understand.
Sure. So let's get familiar with this example. What is completely clear here and what is so?
I think what's not clear is like probably because it's like new to me, like I'm not able to like change the way I think about this. For example, like where did the B come from? Like and what are these like is 0, 1, 0, 0, is that like a matrix or
Yes,
I
yes.
don't understand.
Exactly.
And
So
exactly what exactly does a matrix do for the equation?
it's a matrix equation, meaning that we can write it down in the equivalent form. So I'm going to take this and write it in the form of two separate differential equations. Let's multiply this matrix by this vector, 0 times p, 1 times p dot. So p dot here will be equal to p dot plus 0 times f. So it's just p dot. That's trivial. That's obvious. And let's do the same for the second row. 0 times p, 0 times p dot, 0 here, and 1 over m times f. What does this tell us? It tells us that p double dot is equal to f over m. This is the Newton's second law. So this is the meaning of what's going on.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. I see how you formed the equation. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
But where did you get the B matrix from? Like, how did you decide it's 0 and 1 by m?
From the Newton's second law, really. So we have to analyze the system and provide an adequate matrix that describes its behavior. This matrix is called the control matrix, and it describes the reaction of the time derivative of the state to a certain control. And in our case, this is the block. We can push it to the right, to the left, and the more the mass is, the smaller the acceleration will be as a reaction to the same force. So from Newtonian mechanics, we can obtain this equation, Newton's second law, and the compact and traditionally used way to writing this is to assemble everything into this linear form, into this linear system.
Okay.
So it's just a fancy way of writing all the equations together. And getting back to the full state feedback, what does this mean? We want to obtain a matrix K that will provide us a control for each and every vector from the state space for all x's. So getting back to the example with me, I can calculate the feedback that I have to provide for me in order to get to this point that's over here. So I know my state, my x as a vector, and this means that I have full state feedback. So I can calculate the necessary control that will drive me to 0. Why am I calling this point 0? Because we can linearly shift the system of coordinates. If after approaching this point, I want to get to this point exactly here, I can shift the system of coordinates. This will be the new 0. I will be not at 0 point, so I
The
will
audio
again
kind of cut off.
What?
I don't know if it's just me, but I can't hear you.
I can't hear you, so you can't hear me, right?
Okay, now we can hear you.
No, okay. So there was a lag in the internet somewhere. Sorry if it's on my side.
Sorry, I think it's mine.
Oh, no problem. So we can linearly shift the system of coordinates, and this will be the new 0. Now I'm not at the 0 position, and I will be doing the same. I will stabilize myself, meaning that I will bring my state vector to the new desired position. This is how it usually works in control, and we're always talking about stabilizing the system, bringing it to 0, because 0 is really our desired point. So is this concept clear? The full state feedback. We know the X, and we want to find a single matrix K that will provide us the proper feedback.
We want to find K so that we can get a control vector so that we can get everything back to 0.
Yeah, we want such a control that will drive the system to 0, and we want to have this control in the form of a single matrix. So if you are working towards stabilizing the system with PID, for example, you have to tune 3 parameters, P, I, and D. And this will give you a proper feedback for each state of the system. And here we want to derive a slightly different thing. So we want to boil down the problem of stabilizing the system to finding a single matrix that will solve the problem for us. Because imagine, once we've derived this matrix, once we have it, we measure the X, multiply it from the left to this matrix, and that's it, we have the control. We're done. So we can plug this control into the system, and it will be driven towards 0 eventually. Yeah, this is the logic. So can you, all of you, assure that it's fine? Because we have to keep up with the fundamentals. Guys, is it okay?
Can't we just multiply it by zero vector to find the control state, since that we want to get to 0 in general?
Could you say it again?
Can't we just multiply it by a 0 matrix, and then we're going to get the 0 that we want? Because it's going to produce a control vector, which is a 0.
Yeah, you see, if we, that's a good question. Okay, so let's imagine that I'm this block and I'm moving to the right with the constant velocity. Moving, nothing is acting upon me, and my state is changing. So if I will not apply any force, I will keep moving in the same direction, and I will not end up in the 0 position.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So imagine the so-called phase plane. It's a plane where here we have our position, and here we have p dot, the velocity. So each point on this plane corresponds to a unique combination of position and velocity. And we can have their arbitrary combination, really. So we can be anywhere on this line with any speed.
Oh, I think my headphones are off. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. The battery went dead, unfortunately. Okay, but I can hear you with the speakers. So we can be anywhere here. We can have an arbitrary combination of the position and velocity. And what we want to do is to have such a feedback matrix that will drive all these possible states to one single state that is desired to us. So we can be anywhere, and from any position, we want to get to 0, 0. We want our x vector to be 0 position, 0 velocity. That's our
How
goal.
can we do this with like we found the x bar dot, right? So like how do we represent like going to 0 in terms of x bar dot?
That's a good question. You're slightly running ahead of the development of the method, but we will try to answer that. That's a good question. So we will cover that. And regarding the concept and the general idea, guys, please, I have to make sure that each and every of you understands what's going on. So please, everyone, please write in the chat that it's clear, because otherwise we'd better spend some time clarifying stuff.
So I'm just checking. If you want to get it to 0, 0, the matrix, then you can multiply it by 0 vector. That's why x is 0 over here in this method, right? That's why x is 0, 0, because you're just multiplying it by 0 to get to 0.
Not really, because imagine that we have a real system. So it's a block that is sliding around on the table. And we are describing the behavior of the system with these equations. So we clearly need to apply some control output, non-zero control output, in order to drive the system to 0. So
you multiply it by the inverse of the system, like the opposite of what it's currently. Like
okay.
for example, the force, you'd multiply it by the negative value of the like opposite direction, same force to nullify it.
That's a good guess. That's a good guess. Yes. So you are intuitively moving towards some kind of PID control. So if we deviate to the right from the desired position, let's go left, and vice versa. That makes sense, and that's a way to do that. That's fine. I think I can give an advice about watching our previous lecture, because we were discussing exactly that. But anyways, thank you for the question. So
yeah,
we will be doing pretty much similar stuff, but we'll just get the feedback coefficients so that we minimize a certain cost of this whole trajectory. Because let's check the dimensions. Okay, this u is a scalar. It's just a value, right? By the way, do you hear me well when I'm here, or I have to do something with the headphones?
No, it's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so u is just a scalar, just a value, and we know that x is a vector that has one entry here and one entry here. What dimensions should k have for us to multiply it by x and get a single value? What the shape of this matrix should be?
The same as the x.
I'm afraid we cannot multiply two vectors like this, because the matrix multiplication goes this way. So we have the first row of the left matrix, and we multiply it by the first column of the second. So the length of the height of the vector is supposed to be the same as the width of this matrix.
Is it one row and like two columns? So 1, 2.
1, 2, yes, exactly. Thank you. It should be indeed a 1, 2 matrix. So like this, and 2 entries here and here. So let's call them K1 and K2. The whole matrix K is equal to K1, K2. And if we directly multiply it by X, so if we explicitly get Q, it will be the following thing. Q will be equal to minus K1 P minus K2 P dot. And this is very close to what was proposed a couple of minutes ago. If we deviate to the right, you can see that the resultant force will be pushing us to the left. And also with this part of negative feedback, we are penalizing the velocity, so to say. So we are counteracting velocity and slowing down the block. This is what will happen, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Great. And now we have to work on finding out the values of these entries, K1 and K2. Guys, do all of you have computers? So you're watching this from computers or from tablets, phones?
Yeah, I'm watching this on a laptop. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you know what is Google Colab?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to share a link. So please open it. Just give me a minute. Oh. So the link is in the chat. I think I can duplicate the same link here, by the way. Guys, please, all of you, open this link. We'll be working with the code. We will not move along if you will not do that. So let's keep keep in touch with the code, with the simulation. Let's simulate the system. Who has opened the code? I did. opened. Okay, awesome, thank you. Nakia, Salim, Nivan. Ah, you did? Okay. Did Nakia?
Yeah, it's open.
Ah, okay, awesome. So now let me. I think I can demonstrate the screen to show you around this notebook. This is a notebook that I was using recently at a course on control methods, as you can tell, evidently. So what do we have here? First, we're going to just run around. At first, there are some preliminaries, visualizing stuff. Never mind. Then there is a quite lengthy derivation of the linear quadratic regulator. And we are going to cover that eventually at some point. Don't get scared. We'll go through it slowly and steadily. There are some integrals and it will be all good. And here is the part of our interest for now. So it's the same stuff that I was writing there on the whiteboard. A mass that is moving horizontally without friction along one axis. Here's the state vector. Here's the control. And the system dynamics is given by this differential equation, by a system of differential equations. And the next part is the simulation of this system. So there are 66 lines here, but only the upper part, maybe around 40, is doing the actual simulation. So what I propose to do is you can first run this cell, the preliminary cell here. Yep. So run it. It will spend some time including NumPy and importing everything. And after you're done, you can execute the second cell with the code, this one. We're done. And now please execute the third cell. So don't get scared. We'll go over all of these things. And what do we see here? Here we see 4 plots. And what do they represent? The first plot represents the position over time. The second represents the velocity over time. The third represents the control force, the action, the control signal over time. And the fourth is the system trajectory on this plane. I'm going to use different color. So as the system starts somewhere, it is going through a sequence of positions. And in this exact case, for this exact control, the trajectory happened to be exactly this that you can see here. So is it clear? Is it okay?
So how is the position like if that's the state space, how will we get position like so essentially like I'm trying to understand this. So it's speeding up, slowing down, speeding up, slowing down, but still moving.
Yeah, so let's start with the first plot. This means that the speed is getting higher and lower, but on average, the object is moving. So how does this look like in real life? I'm going to be this block. So it's something like this. It will look as it looks on the plot. And now let us get back to the code. So how did this happen? Let's examine what's going on. Here's the answer to this question. Sign control. So what happens? There is a control function that inputs the current time frame, the tick of the simulator, and the state X. And here we, as evil people, we completely ignore the state. We don't react to it. We just do some stuff in open loop. We're just applying the force that is equal to 20 newtons times the sine of current time over 8. What does it mean? It means that the force that we apply depends only on time. It's not reactive on the state of the system. So no matter what, no matter where we are, we just do the same stuff that depends only on the tick of the simulator. That's it. So this results in the behavior that we see on the plots. And now let us get closer to the code. What happens next to the definition of this control? So here we have the system description. This is the A matrix that you have seen. This is the mass. This is the B matrix. These are the initial position and velocity. And this, we have not covered this concept yet, but this is the step of the simulation. We cannot really simulate continuous systems in our computers because our computers are discrete inherently. And all of our code is discrete as well. We cannot do 1.5 loops, or we cannot do a square root of 2 loops. We can do 1 loop, 2 loops, 3, and so on. So we have to discretely approximate the behavior of the system. This is the number of episodes. The better name here will be number of steps. I will rename it later, but it's the number of the steps of the simulation. And here we're just saying, just for clarity, that the control function will be the sine control that is defined over here. And after that, we run the function by the name of run and visualize block, which is exactly happening. So we're passing all of those parameters, matrices A, B, initial position, initial velocity, time step, number of simulation steps, and the control. And this function produces these plots. So first, it simulates the behavior of the system. Second, it plots what the behavior was over time. Here's the position, this one. Here's the velocity. It's pretty straightforward. If you differentiate the upper plot, you will get this thing. And here is the control force, is just the plot of this sine function, basically. And it has a period of 2 pi. So somewhere here, here. So here the value is nearly 50. Let's divide 50 over by 8. It will be nearly 6. And nearly 6 is 2 pi. So everything is coherent. And with the same period, we're producing the same control signal, like you're pushing someone there and then pulling and so on, depending on time. That's what's going on. And the last one, the most maybe confusing plot, is the plot on the phase plane. And this plot is really composed of these two plots over here of the position and velocity. Here we have position over time. Here we have velocity over time. And here we're placing a single dot on a plane where the position and velocity number I are. So if we are putting a small blue dot over here, it means that on a certain step, the system was in this state. Okay, so now let's examine the code that is running the simulation. Run and visualize code is a function that is pretty much a wrapper for run block simulation, because after that we have just plotting, matplotlib, nothing fancy. And we're now interested in run block simulation that is getting all the same parameters basically. So let's go there. And this upper part is of our interest. So first of all, we have a class that is called dynamic block 1D, one-dimensional dynamic block. This is the first part, and run block simulation, this function, is the second part. what do we have here in the dynamic block 1D? We have the state of the system. We save the mass for future use. We save the time step. We save the A matrix and the B matrix. So here in the constructor, there's just the description of this whole dynamic system, nothing special. The system dynamics here, this one, is one of the most important things because it contains this system of differential equations. It's basically the same stuff, just written in Python. And the sign is the metric multiplication. So with this function, we calculate the value of the time derivative of the state given the control. It is very, very important. So let us all catch up on this concept. This function, saying it again, this function is calculating the time derivative of the state vector given certain control input. Is this clear? Is this clear for everyone?
Yes. Yeah.
It's okay, right.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, awesome. So we have got over the most important and difficult part. Now it will just assemble as a puzzle. It will be pretty clear very soon. So the next function is integrate. How do we do that? We add to the current x dot times dt. It's the Euler integration method.
So to put it simply, essentially, it's just like it's a discrete, like we're just so it's like if you're calculating like position and velocity, so we like xf is equal to xi plus vt.
Yes,
it'd just be that, but like
exactly, it's the same thing, right? You're right. That's true. So it's like saying x1 is equal to x0 plus vt, but just t is small, but that doesn't change anything. We're adding the velocity times the timestamp to the current state, and that's it. We have numerically integrated the state of the system.
Okay, so instead of like x being like position, we are just considering the state vector and like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So here x, not to be confused with the linear displacement. Linear displacement is p.
Yeah.
X is a state vector, two-dimensional, so we integrate both terms. And of course, this integration method is not without some faults. It doesn't conserve energy, but never mind. We can just talk about that later. We don't conserve energy, but it gives us pretty reasonable results given that dt is small. So we're okay with Euler integrations. There are methods like Runge-Kutta of third and fourth order, but it's a topic for discussion on a course on computational mathematics. So we're not talking about that. We're just integrating in a simplest way possible. Okay, so now we can calculate the time derivative of the state and integrate the state. We can propagate it to the future. So given the sequence of controls, we can calculate where the system will eventually get. And this is what happens in the following function. Run block simulation. What we are doing here. At first, we initialize an instance of the system. Then we create some lists for the history of the control, coordinate, and velocity. And here comes the most important part, this one. It's the calculation of the time derivative of the state and integration in the loop and calculation of the control. So here we're getting the state. Here we are sending this state along with the number of the step to the control function and getting the control. Here we calculate the system dynamics. So we calculate the derivative of the state vector, time derivative. And here we integrate the system dynamics which gets us back to the first part again, but just on the new loop. So we get the state, we calculate the corresponding control, we calculate the system dynamics, and we integrate the system dynamics, which gives us new state. That's it. Ivan, your mic is off.
Yeah, this makes sense.
Okay.
So wait, just to make sure, every time the loop runs, a new control will be calculated, which will change the state back to 0. Is that correct?
At this point, our controller is not smart enough, so it's just doing the sign control. And at this point, it is not stabilizing the system. But later on in this notebook, we will eventually find a controller that will stabilize the system. So yeah, our goal as control engineers is to find the function that will map each state to a proper control.
Oh, okay.
So it is clear with this function that is simulating the system.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on. So let's get back to this code just once again and observe what happens. So we define this control, we define the system with a lot of parameters and stuff, and then run that loop that we were talking about. And it gives us the trajectory, the time trajectory of the position, of the velocity, of the control, and this trajectory that the whole system follows. So if we will end up with a controller that stabilizes the system, we will see the trajectory shrinking to the 0 at some point. So how can we do that? Well, yeah, there's also visualization, but it's pretty slow and not very entertaining. We'll skip the cost for now, and we're going to implement it's already implemented. Okay, so here we can see the PD controller, the proportional differential controller. The one that we were talking about during the previous session, and the one that we have explicitly written on the whiteboard over here. So what happens here is that all the rest of the simulation stays the same. The only thing that we have changed is the controller, the way of mapping states into controls. So PD control, we define two coefficients. We can write it even shorter. So minus 5, minus 5. That's okay. And let's check what will happen if we run this code. Let's examine. So here's the 0, and our system in the end of the simulation is really pretty close to 0. Let us make this controller slightly worse, okay? Just for the simulation to be more conceptually clear. So our controller will be weaker, 0.5 and 0.5 instead of 5s. Let me just rerun it. Okay. Hold on. I want some oscillations. Going to change some parameters. Just a sec. Yeah. Yes. So let us observe what is happening here. This is the initial state 1. This is it. So as the time goes on, our velocity pretty quickly changes the direction to negative, and we are approaching 0, and now we are at 0, but The problem is that the velocity at this point is not zero. So we are running behind the intended position in the opposite direction. And the PD controller starts this whole stabilization process just with the smaller deviation from the desired position, but the deviation is still there. So eventually the amplitude decreases and we indeed approach the desired position. But this controller is intentionally made imperfect. I have tweaked certain things so that it's imperfect on purpose. But it's working. So we have negative feedback on the coordinate and the negative feedback on velocity. We are compensating the deviation from the position and slowing down the system. That's what we are doing. This is meant by negative feedback for by both position and velocity. So let's check the velocity. It starts from 0.3, as we said over here. It decreases, then it grows, and eventually it will it will be indistinguishable from a line. It will be almost horizontal. So with the control, yeah, it's pretty similar, but phase is shifted. And the most important part is this one, I guess, the most illustrative. So we are starting over here, and then we're moving on this phase plane, approaching zero. This is convergence. We converge to the desired position. And believe me, if we choose any point on the plane, the behavior will be the same. Why? Because we provide negative feedback for both parts of the state vector. And this is exactly what I meant by these lines over here. So I'm going to take another marker.
And
yeah.
so essentially what we've done is we've created the control that can make it return to the desired state that we want. And we can set, like, okay, for the simple example, we can set the coefficients, the KP and KP dot, like we can set the coefficients as we need and like adjust it accordingly ourselves. So in this case, we made it like not so strong, so it takes so it takes longer to reach
the origin. Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, exactly. So if the parameters are, so to say, better, the stabilization will be faster. However, on the other hand, if the controller has too high gain parameters, it could end up with giving you unreasonable control force. Like your control algorithm could say, please push counterclockwise with 1,000,000 Newton meters for 1 nanosecond. You cannot physically do that. So we have to limit ourselves somehow. And it is done by two different ways. The first is just the torque limit in the servo. The servo motors are not stupid. They will not do that anyway. And the second is for us to explicitly include the limitations into our consideration, because if we take into account what exact values of torque could we provide with our servo motors, we will end up with better behavior of the system in terms of the cost. By better, I mean just lower cost. So it's a pretty formal thing, not better, like more beautiful or something. No. I'm talking about both approaching the desired position and saving the battery. That's it. So we want the robot to go somewhere and also not to spend too much energy, not to break its servos. That's the point. So is it okay at this point? Questions, proposals, it's all good? Is it clear?
Yeah, the graphs made it easier to think about.
Could you repeat?
Yeah, the graphs made sense. Like the way they change with each other.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry for me asking to repeat it. That's because I have no headphones and the computer is just trying to fly somewhere. It's
oh, that's no problem. That's no problem.
It's hard on it. It's from 1918 to 2019. and it has a streaming and simulating at the same time, so it's making awkward
That's
noises.
okay. Oh, that's okay. That's
Okay, so how much time do we have? So what was your plan on doing this? We've been talking for almost 2 hours. Are you tired? Are you okay? Nivan, you're... Mhm.
it's okay because we're just like listening, so it's fine.
Okay, so
We haven't derived the linear quadratic regulator yet, right? And that
yeah, we didn't yet. So we were observing how does the PID work in the simulation, and this will eventually drive us to the LQR controller itself, because with PID, it is not that convenient to regulate the interplay between, say, saving the battery and approaching zero. And also PID is not model-based, so we cannot stabilize complex systems using PID only and not considering the system. As you can see here, we were not considering the system while providing such a feedback control. And the next thing that we can do is the following. Yeah, the code is here as well. That's because yeah, I was showing that already. So it's the crucial part. It's evaluating the state action trajectory. X over time is the position trajectory. X and P over time is the position trajectory. P and P dot is the state trajectory, because for each timestamp, we can take P and P dot. We know their exact values if we have saved the whole trajectory. And state action trajectory here in this case consists of 3 entries: P, P dot, and control. So state action trajectory is a pretty straightforward thing. And this function evaluate state action trajectory is doing the following. Check this formula over here. We are multiplying the vector x, transpose by a square matrix, and then again by this vector x, and getting a single scalar number. And then we're doing the same for the control, adding them up, and then taking the sum over all the timestamps. This is the way in which we can evaluate the, so to say, quality of this state action trajectory, because check this out. If the system is just standing still and not approaching zero, there will be a pretty substantial cost over here, because a certain entry of the x vector is not changing. I'm just keeping this wrong position. I am supposed to be in the middle, and I'm here. So the total value of the cost, the part of the cost that corresponds to the position, will be equal to this distance from my position to the desired squared times the total time of the simulation.
This is going to sound a bit silly, but the cost doesn't represent anything, like this cost J, like it doesn't represent anything physically, right?
That's a good question. I will answer that in a couple of minutes. And the second part is the same thing for the control. So imagine that this U is just our force control. Clearly, if this control is high enough, the value of the second term is high enough as well. So this is the way for us to minimize the control. And regarding the meaning of these things, it's a bit tricky, because x's are measured in meters and meters per second in the second entry. And U is measured in Newton, just newtons. Yep. So let's write it down. I think I know how to explain that. So I have an example. You are driving a one-dimensional car. And you want to drive it exactly to this spot, because everywhere except for this spot, you have you will have to pay a fine, because you have to park. There's only one parking spot. It's here exactly. So you cannot be anywhere else. And also, the further you are from the parking lot, the more you pay. And the longer you stay there, the more you pay as well. So the second is the speeding fine. If the speed is great, then you have to pay another fine. And if you're using some petrol, you have to pay for petrol. The more force you exert on the car, the more petrol is used, so the more money you will spend. And finally, the meaning of this whole cost will be just, I don't know, dollars, rubles, whatever currency you're using. So it will all boil down to the same unit. If you're just minimizing the energy, it will be joules. But it could be basically anything that you want to save. Maybe liters of fuel, whatever. You know, you get the
So to bring the analogy back, so like in this case, we want to minimize the amount of force we have to apply, because like we wouldn't want the motors or the servos to apply a lot of force. We would want to, that would be the cost analysis in our case. So if you apply more force, it would be more expensive or like expensive. And if it's further away from the desired position, it would also have a higher cost. Like if it's further away from 0, 0, or like then we would give it a higher cost. Am I understanding this analogy right? Like in the case of the block.
Yes. So let's consider some more specific things over here. So let's imagine that we are in the state x1, and it's p1, p1 dot. And at this exact moment in time, we are applying the control u1, which consists of force f1. So let's calculate the fine from the government and plus the cost of the fuel. It will be equal to g sub 1 is equal to p1 dot, this vector transpose, times we can choose the form of this matrix Q in the beginning to be simple. It will be a diagonal matrix. So it will be fine for parking improperly. This will be fine for speeding, and this will be zeros, times just the normal non-transposed vector p1 dot plus f1 transposed cost of fuel c f1. So this will be equal to p1 squared fine for parking plus p1 dot squared fine for speeding plus f1 squared, because scale of transpose is the same, times the cost of the fuel. That's conceptually exactly the same what's going on in LQR.
Okay.
I know it's just an analogy, but like, okay, say we're talking about actual fine, like, I'm sorry, it's just an analogy, but I'm trying to like bring it back, like try to connect the two.
Yeah, sure.
So why do we have the squared term? Like, if it was just,
Mhm.
yeah, we could just do the first matrix, like the fine f, fine for the position and fine for the speeding, times the, we could just have that. Why the squared term? Like,
First of all, if we will try to minimize the coordinate, let's say, we'll just drive backwards all the time. So what exactly are we going to minimize in such a case? If we are using squares, we're minimizing the squares. If we imagine this term, it will grow somehow like this. So the further you get from the parking lot, the more is defined. And
okay,
yeah,
okay.
regarding speed, is the same thing, but it's just a parabola that goes over here.
Okay.
Yeah, and
You want to penalize even more for going, like, more and more for going further and further away. Like,
yeah. So the greater the speed, the more the fine. And another very important thing is the property of the square, of the second order functions. They are just awesome to minimize. You differentiate them and you get the point where the derivative is zero. This is actually a multidimensional parabola, so you can easily differentiate that and get the optimal point. Squares are good to minimize. If you say, we can think of some crazy cost function with, I don't know, hyperbolic tangents or something, but it will be difficult to minimize it. And if this cost function will be non-convex, we will be not really capable of doing that in adequate time. And parabola is a very, very good function to minimize.
I see. Okay, so this is something, so we're essentially trying to find a minimal point, like calculus, basically.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And the good thing about
But with
parabola,
multiple variables. Okay,
if
multivariable character.
yes, if we minimize the square, if we find the spot where if we find the place where x square is zero, then the x is zero as well. So we boil down a complex problem to a simpler problem that has the same answer.
We could also go with a cubic or like a quintic or something, but like this is easier for us to do mathematically. That's why we pick it.
Yeah, so it could be pretty intuitive to start minimizing the module of x.
Yeah.
But you cannot differentiate that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And the minimum of the x corresponds one-to-one to the minimum of x squared. So we can just square this. It's monotonous. We can square that and the minimum will be the same. That's why we choose such a form for the cost. And
makes sense.
The next thing that we do is we sum up these terms over all the trajectory. So we're calculating this for, we calculate J1, J2, Jn. And we sum it all up, not forgetting to multiply this by dt, because as we said, the longer you stay outside of the parking lot, the greater the fine is. That's the intuition.
Got it.
Okay, awesome. So what I propose to do is to observe what is going on here at home. So let me, you know what? I think yeah. So observe what is going on here. Make sure that you understand it. And then please try to tune the PD controller so that the cost of the trajectory will be as small as possible. Let me state this clearly. So if I run this simulation again with the, well, let me equate the number of the steps. It will be just the same, 1,300. There's lots of steps and the system is just going somewhere, nothing smart. And now I'm going to calculate the cost of this trajectory. So the cost is 4,802 and something else. It doesn't represent exactly joules or liters of fuel, whatever. Here you can see the exact cost matrices. For now, let us leave them as they are.
Okay.
And now let us measure the performance of the PD controller. So here, almost 5,000. And what can we get here? Almost 20. So this relatively simple PD controller is orders of magnitude better than the very stupid controller that is just driving system to infinity. And if we say change the values of the PD to the ones that were here previously, it could be, I don't know.
So we're finding K so that the cost is minimized. It's calculus, basically. What you're trying to do.
Well, kind of. So the home assignment for today, for the following week, is to just find out the best values that you can think of. And LQR will allow us to find them analytically, and they will be optimal by construction. So there will be a proof that they're optimal. And we will compare how close can you, with your intuition, get back to the optimal values.
Okay.
So we have had a 0.5 here, now it's 1.5, and we are decreasing the speed faster, and the value of the cost was nearly 20. So let's check. Let's check. Yeah, the trajectory is better, and the cost will be 7. So there are ways to improve it. However, if we over exaggerate the control, say minus 35, I don't know, and here minus, okay, just minus 35. I think that we will have too much effort. Let's check. So the system is converging, but the force is just very high. So let's check the exact value. Yeah, that's a lot of effort. We were driving towards the parking lot, but we were overshooting multiple times and spending a lot of fuel, making fumes and loud noises. So with the previous value, we can be more conservative in terms of the force. We will still drive the system to the 0, but with much less effort. Yeah, so that's my proposal for the home assignment. And you can ask questions in the chat, or directly you can ask me. The plan for the next session is to continue with the linear quadratic regulator, and we're going to talk about this derivation just slowly and steadily with all the context, and it will be fine, I promise. Questions?
So right now, we just have to, like, the goal is to just figure out intuitively how the cost is affected based on the parameters we give for K. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
trial and error. Right? So trial and error. It's not like we're gonna calculate anything.
Sorry, I can't hear you properly. Could you repeat, please?
Yeah, no problem. So it's like a trial and error kind of thing.
Yes. Don't spend too much
Okay.
too much time doing that. Like half an hour will be fine. You just observe
Okay.
that you can get an intuition on how do the parameters influence the trajectory, what happens with the overshoot, what will happen
Okay.
if you provide positive feedback. Spoiler, the system will diverge. Well, positive feedback means that I'm pushing to the right if I'm deviating
Moving
to,
to the right.
yeah, that's, so you can try that and compare the cost. They will be just awful. This controller is even worse than the sine controller. Well, yeah, sure, the coefficient should be negative, that's clear. And you can try by trial and error to figure out what values could allow you to minimize the cost. And the plan for the next time is to use some math to derive the optimal controller for these types of the problems. And the best thing about it is that if we once and for all derive the formula, the exact formula, depending on the parameters of the system, on A, on B, on the first weight matrix, and on the second weight matrix. And that's everything we need. After that, we can calculate optimal gain metrics for all the systems. That's the best part of it. So we're going to do the proof. And after that, you will be able to optimally control any linear system with such type of cost.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Thank you very much for joining. And I have just one more question. So why did the other students leave? Do you have any idea? Was it too complicated, or on the contrary, it was too easy? So what happened? What do you think about it?
We don't personally know any of the other students, but I'm guessing it's because maybe they didn't plan for it to go on this long. Maybe they just got busy.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. But anyways, if you feel like something is too complicated or too easy, on the contrary, please let me know. I'm going to adjust. I'm very open to that.
No,
So
this was great. Thank you so much.
thank you very much for coming, and I'm ready for your questions. I will share the recording, and see you next week at the same time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much for
Thank
taking the time.
you.
Have a nice day.
Yeah,
Have a nice day. Bye.
bye-bye.
Thank you again.